Okay, Rokslide review for the Seek Outside Eolus with a nest. Just finished up my sheep hunt here in Montana. I didn't get a sheep, but it's time to break camp. Gonna go elk hunting. Before we leave, I wanted to give you a rundown of how to set up the Eolus. For a full performance review, you're gonna have to check out my actual review on rokslide.com. On all four corners, you'll find these tie-out ropes, and they have this cam lock system. Loosens it and then tightens it. Make sure on the end of each string here you tie a knot. I'll show you why. So at one point in the hunt, I decided to relocate camp, and the winds were just ripping, and so I set up camp and the winds were blowing so strong. What happened is it blew the tarp loose and I was left with this. So what I've done to fix that and just tie a knot in the end of it, or two. And now it can't actually fit through there. And here's the first mistake you're probably gonna make. You set up your two ends, get them nice and tight, and your first reaction is gonna want to be to pull this out as tight as you can get it, and pull this one out as tight as you can get it. And here's why this is a bad idea. So if you pull the ends as tight as you can get them, that limits how high you can raise your tarp. So they got these black cups that are for your poles, and then you tie these out like that. Okay? Pretty close. Well, then what happens is you only have this high to get in and out of your tent, or your tarp. So you kind of got to belly crawl in and out. So let me show you how to set it up the right way. Okay, so once you have your far ends staked in nice and tight, you're gonna pull it tight and then come in about a foot maybe. You have to play with it to get the height that you like. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on this side and pull it tight, come in about a foot, making it, still want it this way tight. So that gives you a shorter distance this way, which lets your poles come up higher. So this is about the difference in height that you're gonna see. This was the original setup with the tent, with the tarp pulled tight. Now you line your hike and pull up with the black cup. Slide it in, and then you can raise it up to where you need it to be. There, it's good and tight. So then I'll stake this end out. I like to set this one out at 125 and collapse this one. Find that black cup, get it in. Now I can grab that bottom piece and raise it up to where it's tight for where I want it to be. And then stake this end out. Okay, before we go inside the tent, I wanted to show you how the vestibule opens and closes. They have this same cam lock system as you have on your tie-outs. I don't remember what they're called. I'll look it up, I'll add it in the video, I'll give you the actual name. But there's two of them, so it locks both ways. So if you pull down on the top one, it locks it down. And if you pull down on the bottom one, it'll go all the way up. And it locks itself there. That's not locking. And there's your entrance. So now let's go inside the tent. Okay, I keep using the word tent, but I think it's important that we understand that this is a tarp and not a tent. So if you look around the bottom, you'll see that the bottom of the tarp is raised up off the ground. That's because this is an early season summer scouting tarp. That's what it's for. That gives you your airflow. That helps prevent condensation on the inside. This is an early season tarp. It's made, like I said, for scouting. It's made for summer hiking, but I'm in the middle of September right here. Last night my water bottle was frozen, so it was close to that 32 or less range, which means it gets pretty chilly, which means I don't want that airflow. And so here's what I did to kind of get extra mileage out of this tarp. Instead of tying them out to the end, I moved the tie down up really close to the tarp, so that by the time you set the stake in, it closes that gap all the way around the tent, so I don't have that airflow. Now you do lose a little bit of usable space inside. My head and my feet were more likely to touch the tarp at night, but as long as you keep yourself centered, it's not that big of a deal. It lets me pack in a super light tarp well into September, and I can survive and get along just fine in colder temperatures than what the tent was probably designed for. So that was basically just the Eolus. Now we have to talk about the nest. The nest it's literally just a way to keep bugs off of you. Try to keep the critters out of your camp. It does have a little bit of a tub. You can see the green piece on the bottom. Right here, you have a mechanism to attach it up to those black pockets where your hiking pole goes up into those little black pockets. These attach to the black pockets. This little tie down wraps around your hiking pole, and so it gives you a nest inside of the Eolus. It's pretty basic, it's straightforward. I don't think I need to set it up to show you how to do it. You get the idea. They all have tie downs, right? So each one has that cam lock mechanism and a rope to tie down to the same stakes that the tarp is tied down to. Here's one thing. Here's one big key though. This netting can only go so high before it starts to lift the bottom of the tub, so to speak, the green piece, off the ground. So that's going to limit how high you can set your tarp, because once this gets up too high and this is up and you're sitting on the inside of it, it jams up your zippers. So you're going to have to play with it a little bit to find where it's going to work for you. You have about that much height, so it's going to be a little bit lower than probably what we were just looking at. Okay, one last thing before we go. I would suggest that if you're going to run the nest with the Eolus, that you set them up together at home before you leave. Now, I don't know if you're supposed to do this, but the tarp will fit inside the Eolus bag, and there's still plenty of room to fit the actual Eolus tarp and the stakes in this bag. So here's my suggestion. I would take the top left corner of the nest and the top left corner of the Eolus, and I would take your stake loops and I would tape them together or zip tie them together. And then I go to the top right-hand corner and do the same, so that all of your ropes for the nest and the Eolus are attached. And I might even go so far, attach the top of the netting to the black pocket where your hiking pole goes. So it's already attached and assembled in one piece. I think it would be worth it to set them up together before you go. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this Rokslide review. Find us on rokslide.com to read the full review in print, and find us on the forums, join the conversation, ask me some questions.